Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, this is from the 6th group. So here we are going to present about negation and related phenomena. The members are me, Firda Aulia, and my friend Naila Maghfiroh Fadli. So we are going to explain to you about causal negation, non-affirmative items, and the last is scope of negation. Okay, the first one is clausal negation. In clausal negation, so there is a further distinction between verbal and non-verbal negation. And you can see in the example below, for the verbal negation, she didn't tell me anything. And the second one, she does not live here anymore. And you can see the difference between non-verbal negation, she told me nothing. And she no longer lives here. So verbal negation is marked either by negative inflection on the verb and modification of the verb by separated word, just like in the example here, she didn't tell me anything and she does not live here anymore. So the grammatical significance of the distinction between verbal and non-verbal negation is the verbal negation requires the insertion of the dummy auxiliary do under certain conditions, whereas non-verbal negation never does. Condition for the insertion of dummy do with verbal negation. So the first one is in clauses with a primary verb form. The negative clauses of this kind require the presence of an auxiliary verb. If there is no auxiliary in the corresponding positive clause, the formation of the negative involves the insertion of do, and it will be described in the examples below. So let's see the positive examples here. The first one is she is lenient with them, and the second one is she rejected his offer. And let's see the negative examples. She isn't lenient with them. And the next, she didn't reject his offer. So as you can see that in the first example in 1a, is here is an auxiliary verb, so we do not insert do when negating the clause. While in the second example, in 2b, reject is a lexical verb, so we have to insert do to form the negative. Okay, the next is in imperative clauses. So imperative clauses with verbal negation always require do. So let's see in the examples below. For the positive examples, be lenient with them and reject his offer. While the negative examples, don't be lenient with them and don't reject his offer. So do is added in the imperative but not in the declarative one. Inflectional verb form versus not. So inflectional negation is admissible only in those constructions where dummy do occurs. So let's see in the examples below. The first one is marking by inflections. It is vital that we been disturbed, and it is vital that he don't delay. So these examples are wrong, both are wrong. And let's see the other examples here. Marking by not. It is vital that we not be disturbed, and it is vital that he not delay. So not here is the only option, that the not normally comes before the verb rather than after it. Okay, next we are going to talk and discuss about non-verbal clausal negation. So non-verbal clausal negation is marked by either by not and modifying a constituent other than a verb, or else by various negative words that are not used for verbal negation, like nothing, never, few, and etc. Not as a marker of non-verbal negation. So not can modify a considerable range of non-verbal elements, but by no means all. And in the following examples, single underlining highlights not, and the double underlining marks the element that it modifies. So let's take a look at the examples below for the admissible and inadmissible. The first is admissible. There are 3 examples. Not everybody agrees with you. Not all her friends support her. And the last, not even Tom like it. So let's compare with the inadmissible. Not somebody agrees with you. Not each of her friends support her. Not Tom like it. So in inadmissible, you cannot use not, or you cannot pair not with somebody, not with each, and not with Tom, just like in the examples. Okay, next is about other markers of non-verbal negation. So there are 2 groups that consider to non-verbal negation. There are absolute negators and approximate negators. The first is absolute negators. There are no, none, nobody, no one, nothing, nowhere, neither, nor, and never. So let's take a look in the examples. Nobody objected to her playing. We found no mistakes. Neither Kim nor Pat has arrived. He never apologizes. Where the negator follows the subject in clausal negation, there is usually an equivalent clause with verbal negation, like in the examples below. For the non-verbal negation, we found no mistakes. There is no one here, and he never apologizes. For the equivalent verbal negation, we didn't find any mistakes. There is not anyone here, and he doesn't even apologize. Okay, next about the approximate negators. So the examples are few, little, rarely, seldom, barely, hardly, and scarcely. So let's take a look in the examples. First, few. Few of them realized it was hoax. And next, she hardly spoke a word all evening. The third example, he rarely goes to church nowadays. And the last, there is scarcely any food left. So actually few of them comes close meaning to none of them, because none actually indicates absolutely zero, while few puts the number within a small part of the scale down at the end close to zero. This is why we say it an approximate negator. And in a similar way, rarely approximates to never, hardly spoke a word approximates to didn't speak a word, and the last, scarcely any food approximates to no food.
The next is about non-affirmative items. A fair number of words or literature's expression are polarity sensitive. It means that they occur in clauses of one polarity but not of the other. For example, I have some objections to make. It's correct because of using some in positive sentence. But we cannot say in negative that I don't have some objections to make. Therefore, we say that some has positive orientation. Next, in positive, I have any objections to make. It's incorrect because any excluded from positive, while in B sentence, I don't have any objections to make. It's correct because any occur in negative. Any also excluded from not only positive but also declarative. However, it's really admitted as an interrogative clause. Like in example, have you any objections to make, or who has any objections to make? Example of non-affirmative items: any, anybody, any longer, anymore, anything, anywhere, at all, either ever, long, much, until, whatever, yet, there, need, but, can bear, can stand. That's the example of non-affirmative items. Notice that there and need here are non-affirmative as modal auxiliaries, but not as lexical verbs. So some items are non-affirmative or has negative orientation only in certain sense or uses. Like in example, for non-affirmative, did you see anybody? I didn't see either of them. Will it ever end? I won't stay long. No one can stand the pressure. However, there are sentences form of non-affirmative items that not polarity sensitive. For example, anybody can make promises. Either version would do. It will last forever. It has been a long day. Everyone can stand for a minute. Non-affirmative items here, anybody, either, ever, long, and can stand. In not polarity sensitive, has positive orientation. Other construction that have non-affirmatives is not only negatives and interrogatives that allow non-affirmative items to appear. There are also a number of other constructions. For example, she was too taken aback to say anything. It has semantic fitness with negation because of the two here show that she didn't say anything. She ran faster than she had ever run before. It has semantic fitness with negation because of the comparative faster. It means that she had never run that fast before. And we slipped away without anyone noticing. Also has semantic fitness with negation because of the meaning of without. It shows that no one noticed. So all these constructions or all these sentences have semantic fitness with negation. Then we talk about perspective grammar notes, which there are non-standard varieties of English in Britain, North America, and Australasia that use negative items in place of standard English non-affirmative items in clauses with verbal negation. For example, in standard, I didn't see anybody. For non-standard, I didn't see nobody. Then in standard, we say he didn't say anything to anybody. Non-standard, he didn't say nothing to nobody. If we look in the examples or non-standard example here, mark the negation in two or more places. In the first sentence, I didn't see nobody, the negation in two places, didn't and nobody. In the sentence, he didn't say nothing to nobody, the negation in three places, didn't, nothing, and nobody. This phenomenon is called negative concord or negative agreement. Then it's true that logically two negatives make positive meaning, as in standard English. For example, it's not the case that he didn't speak to her. There are two negatives that make positive meaning, not and didn't. So this sentence means that he spoke to her, and I didn't see nobody. The two negatives, didn't and nobody, with the stress in the word nobody. it shows that I did see somebody. While in non-standard English, there are two grammatical negatives, but only one semantic negative. For example, I didn't see nobody. There are two grammatical negatives, didn't and nobody. It shows that I didn't see anybody. And then I cannot get no satisfaction. There are two grammatical negatives, but only one semantic negative. So this sentence, it shows that I am unable to obtain satisfaction. So non-standard English is logical. It just happens to be a feature of non-standard varieties that is absent from the standard variety. And of course, standard English speakers know about it. The last is scope of negation. The scope of negation is the part of the sentence that the negative applies to semantically. Scope is best understood by examination of contrast. Like in the example, negation has scope over many. Not many people believe him. In many has scope over negation. Many people didn't believe him. In A example, not many people believe him. The negation applies to many. It shows that the number of people who believe him was not large. We say that the negation has scope over many. In B example, not many people didn't believe him. However, the negation doesn't apply to many. But many has scope over the negation, since it gives the size of the set of people who had the property that they didn't believe him. The same kind of contrast is also found in the following pairs. And for example, the negative has scope over the adjunct. I didn't omit my name deliberately. In this example, the negative has scope over the adjunct deliberately. So it means omitting my name was not something I made a point of doing. However, in the adjunct has scope over the negation. For example, I deliberately didn't omit my name. The adjunct has scope over the negation. So I made a point of not omitting my name. Then the negative has scope over the modal auxiliary. For example, you needn't tell anyone about it. So the negation has scope over the modal auxiliary need. It expresses that it isn't necessary for you to tell anyone about it. While in the modal has scope over the negation, for example, you mustn't tell anyone about it. However, this sentence, it means that the modal must has scope over the negation. So it's necessary that you not tell anyone about it. Note that in cases where some element has scope over the negation, it's normally possible to find a paraphrase in which the negative marker is located in a subordinate clause. For example, of many has scope over negation. Many people didn't believe him. So we can paraphrase it. There were many people who didn't believe him. And the next, I deliberately didn't omit my name. There is paraphrased one. I deliberately choose not to omit my name. And then, you mustn't tell anyone about it. This sentence, we can paraphrase, you are required not to tell anyone about it.